All right, welcome to the Krueg Show, everybody. Larry Krueger with you on a Thursday night. Let's get the band rolling here. There we go. The StreamYard band. Welcome to the Pig and a Pickle Krueg Show. That's right, our title sponsor, Pig and a Pickle. Check them out. Best barbecue in the Bay Area, Corte Madera, Emeryville. They're open 7 days a week in Marin, 5 days a week in Emeryville. Check them out, pigandapickle.com on the web. We'll have more on them a little bit later on, but we are welcoming in our guest tonight, Jessie Naylor, who has done an incredible job building up his channel, talking Niner football. We had him on a couple weeks ago, and he is back with us to chop it up. What's up, Jessie? How are you, man?
I'm doing fantastic, Larry. And I don't live in Cali, but I feel like Pig and a Pickle is a place that I would like to eat at. Yes. I'm a little jealous, actually.
Yes. If you're out here, do you come out at all? You're going to come out for training camp maybe one of these years.
Yeah, huh? I think so. I think I'm going to come out to training camp this year. That's the plan.
Yeah, so we'll have to get together and take you out to Pig and a Pickle and introduce you to Damon and Mary and get some. If you're in a barbecue spot, are you a rib guy? Are you a sausage guy? Are you barbecue
ribs.
Chicken? Are you brisket?
Ribs all the way. Ribs and brisket. Yeah.
Oof. Sounds good. That sounds very, very good. Well, I'm glad we decided to have you on today because this is suddenly kind of a juicy day in Ninerland. They're making moves. It sounds like, according to a report, Clint Kubiak is going to take on the A-top role on Kyle Shanahan's offensive staff. It didn't really specify if he would be the play caller. He was the play caller at the end of the year for the Broncos this year. What do you think? Clint Kubiak, Gary Kubiak's got, I think, 3 or 4 sons, and I believe this is his oldest son. What do you think of the hire?
I love it. Because what it seems like to me is Shanahan realizes that he has 2 young quarterbacks that he's trying to develop. So why not get as many quarterback gurus around these kids as possible? Maybe one personality, maybe it's Clay Kubiak's personality that works really well with Trey, but Clint Kubiak works really well with Purdy. And you've already got Greasy there. I just feel like you've got 3 guys right now in the building that really are honed in on the quarterback position, have been quarterback coaches, have been trainers, have been offensive coordinators. There's a plethora of skills within these 3, Greasy and then the 2 Kubiaks, and I just think that it's a great idea. You've got, like I said, 2 young quarterbacks that need to be developed. Get as many voices in there as possible and develop these guys.
Yeah. He's the oldest of the 3 brothers. I said 4, but there's 3. And he now joins his younger brother as well, Clay, who's been on the Niners staff for a couple seasons, one doing quality control on the defensive side of the ball, and then this year as an assistant quarterback coach. I just think that it comes right down to, offensive football is about cohesion and continuity, and it's really important that the offensive coaching staff are all on the same page. Now, it's important for both sides of the ball, but I think it's even more important for the offensive side of the ball. And I like the fact that the Shanahans and the Kubiaks go back, what are we talking, 30 years, 25 years? I mean, Gary Kubiak was the Niners quarterback coach the last time the Niners won the Super Bowl, and Mike Shanahan, Kyle's dad, was the offensive coordinator at that time. So, in some ways, I would rather hire from within, but this is like the next best thing, right? If you can't hire from within, if you don't have a candidate from within, why not have somebody who's good? You're not going to change your scheme. Kyle knows him. He knows Kyle. Here's the question, though. Who ultimately calls the plays?
Oh, I think it's going to be Kyle. I don't know if he's ever, I just don't think he'll ever let go of that, but he does do a good job of having a run game coordinator, having a pass game coordinator. They always have input. It seems like they're always in communication. So, but he's ultimately going to be the decider. I feel like that's one of those things that he's just never going to relinquish. That's a part of his DNA. It's a part of who he is. And I think he really does enjoy doing it.
What did you think of? I didn't watch a lot of Denver, though I did watch them on Christmas, and obviously they got destroyed by the Rams. But what's your feeling on Denver? And as far as, do you have any knowledge of Clint Kubiak's kind of preferences, or do we know anything? Do you have any intel on Clint Kubiak that you can share?
Yeah, I think Kubiak has shown, I mean, not only with Denver, but also with Minnesota that he would prefer a balanced offense, which is what the 49ers like to do. I think all of it falls in line and it comes from dad, Gary Kubiak, who, by the way, really had a huge hand in developing Kyle. And so I think that this makes sense. You know, you extend the olive branch, you extend the handout to a son. You guys have very similar philosophies and how you want to run things. And I think that ultimately when you watch Denver and you watch Minnesota, which were the two teams that he had a big hand in that offense, he ultimately was a very balanced play caller. And that's exactly what Kyle wants to do. So I think it's a great fit.
One of the stories that kind of has come out in the last couple of days, and we people referencing it here in the chat, is Trey Lance has spoke, and MF says Trey Lance says, "I love it here, and I don't ever want to be anywhere else." Now, when I saw that, that makes me feel really good about the future because I think I voiced it to you. It might have been to Grant. I definitely have talked about this over the last week or so. That if I were Kyle, if I were Lynch, if I ran this show, before I do anything with my quarterbacks, I need a sit down with both to just find out where their headspace is at because it's not your typical competition. You got two guys who really kind of both, I'm sure, have designs on starting and never thought of themselves as backing up. Purdy backed up this year and then ran with his opportunity. Trey backed up last year, was going to be the starter this year. But my big concern is that, hey, you know what? If Trey wins the job and Purdy's the backup, is Purdy going to be happy as the backup, or at least happy is not the right word. Maybe is he going to be content to be the backup and stay with the Niners, or is he going to say through his agent out in Nashville, hey, you know what? I want out of here. And if Brock wins the job, is Trey, who's clearly needs to play, I think we all would agree with that. Would his agent respond to him losing the starting job as, hey man, get us out of here by October? Because that's the spot if you're Lynch, you don't want to be in. All right. You don't want to be in that. Hey, you got 30 days to make a trade, and you got your locker room now picking sides and fracturing. I'm not saying that would happen for sure, but it's got potential for that. To me, for Trey to come out and say, I love it here, I don't want to be anywhere else. To me, that sounds like he's committed to being here, whether he's the starter this year or not. And I think I was talking to Matt Barrows, and Barrows said that he kind of thinks that both quarterbacks are kind of looking at this, macro long term, and not necessarily, if I'm not starting week one, get me out of here. What's your read on the kind of the headspace of the two guys as this competition gets underway this summer?
I think, and actually, I heard you talk about that on Grant's show. Is where I heard you talk about it, and I agree with you. I mean, it is important. I think the 49ers have done a good job in drafting good people who are leaders, and that's what both these players are. They're both good kids with their heads squared on their shoulders. They're good, and so I just they want to compete. They want to both be starters. But Trey already has proven that he can be a helpful person behind the scenes. He's proven that. He did it his rookie year. He did it again last year. And I think Purdy also has proven that. Purdy started as a third string quarterback. They both are willing, I believe, to put their ego aside and do whatever it takes to help this team win. Now, if at the end of this year it is clear that one of them is the starter and there is no swing, one didn't get injured, we just see one guy all the way through, whether that is Purdy or that is Lance, then I could see a situation where the other one's like, okay, it's probably time to part ways here. But I think going into this year, if you sell them both that it is an equal competition and allow it to play out, heck, we might see both of them anyways. We know how quarterbacks get injured around here. So I think they'll both be patient. They'll bite their time. They'll do what they can to be good teammates. I think it's after this year that you probably have to start worrying about those things.
Yeah, I kind of agree. But it does make this year, I don't know. I mean, what do you think this year's going to be like? Because the way it goes. You win a game, that's fine. starters, everything's right with the world. You lose a game, and suddenly it's like, hey, the other guy would have won. You know what I mean? And it doesn't really matter if it's Trey to Brock, Brock to Trey. It's just that's just kind of the way it goes. Is that just should we all just kind of wrap our arms around that and just kind of acknowledge that that's kind of the conversation around the sport? Or is there anything that could kind of preempt that from actually happening in your mind?
I don't think there is. And I think most of that talk is going to come from obviously the fan base and the media. I'm sure players pick sides. I mean, they're humans as well, but I don't think that that's really going to impact whether they play hard or win or lose. To me, Kyle's the one that makes the ultimate decision though. And I get the feeling, maybe you get a different feeling. I mean, you're in the locker room, but I get the feeling that once Kyle makes a decision, he's going to ride that thing out. He plans to ride that decision out until the very last moment where it's like, okay, we're one game away from possibly not making the playoffs here. Maybe it's time to go the other way. But, you know, up until a 3-5 start, Jimmy was going to be the guy. And then all of a sudden Lance came in. Jimmy wasn't quite healthy. If Lance had stayed healthy in the Cardinals game, it sounds like in the Colts game, it would have been Trey's job. But it took a while to get to that point. He gave him plenty of leash. And so I just have a feeling that he's going to make the decision. He won't allow it to be a controversy. And every time the question is asked after a loss, he'll be like, yeah, we know who our quarterback is. And he'll keep it pushing. So I don't think it'll ever be like a real big issue, at least in Kyle's mind.
One of the topics that I wanted to tackle today, I didn't think we were going to touch on. I really didn't think this was even going to be a topic, but I'll throw the banner up there. Will Deebo be dealt to the Pats? And this is an interesting story. Now, I don't know that there's anything to it, but the Patriots obviously need a wide receiver. And there's a guy named James Stewart who went on the radio, 98.5, the flagship for the Pats in New England, and said the Pats are sniffing around for wide receivers, and then mentioned Deebo. He said, Deebo Samuel, I heard the Patriots got a text message from an NFL talent evaluator that the Pats are sniffing around Deebo Samuel. What do you think? I mean, Grant and I actually discussed this, and I think Grant might have thrown Deebo's name out because we talked about, who's the 49er most likely to be dealt this offseason. And I think he threw out Deebo as at least one of the ideas. What do you think of the concept first of trading Deebo? And then what do you think of this report?
Well, okay. First of all, I mean, Deebo's my favorite player in the league right now. I love Deebo Samuel, but if I was going to trade Deebo, the time was last offseason before you signed him to that extension. And I thought there was a real possibility there, and I was open to it. I mean, I felt like you could probably get quite a bit for him and you could make things work. Now you've got CMC on the team. It does seem a little redundant to have them both, but that cap hit is so much, Larry. I don't see a pathway where they can trade him because trades happen before June 1st. They don't usually happen after June 1st. And if it happens after June 1st, the 49ers are trying to be contenders. They're not going to just trade him for a future pick. They're going to want players now. So who are those players? Is there anybody on the Pats that makes sense? Because after June 1st, it starts to make a little bit more financial sense for the 49ers to do it. No shock to me that the Patriots are sniffing around. They absolutely do need a weapon. They do need a receiver of some sort. So I'm sure they're going to be sniffing around in a lot of organizations trying to find that guy. Deebo makes complete sense with a guy like Mac Jones. We saw how it worked with Jimmy Garoppolo. And so I would understand why they would be interested. I just don't see a scenario where the 49ers trade him this offseason with that cap hit. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I'm trying to even think, like looking at their roster, who I would even want coming back. And Deebo Samuel is the face of the 49ers. If you think of the Niners, you think of Deebo. And then, if you're like me and you're in that room, I get the sense that like Armstead's the leader on the D and that Deebo is the leader on the O. Mm-hmm. That's kind of my sense of it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the players would say something else. I'm trying to think what I would want in return. Maybe Pierre Strong, who's a definite, speedy running back. I think I'd like to have him coming back. Uh, what do the Patriots have that's really worth? Josh Ushi,
Who's
the
their right
outside rush
tackle?
guy. He might not be bad to have. I wouldn't mind Jack Jones
Yeah.
or Jonathan Jones. Was it Jonathan Jones? Jack Jones was the rookie.
Yeah.
Yeah, who I really liked this year. I mean, I guess if you could get Jack Jones, Marcus Jones,
I'd love to have Marcus Jones. I wanted him last year in the draft.
yeah, I love Marcus Jones coming out of Houston. He would give the Niners a return guy. I think I'd probably want Jack Jones, Marcus Jones, and a pick. I mean, I want something major for Deebo. I might even want
Yeah.
more than that, but I think I would want definitely one of those DBs, definitely Pierre Strong, another speedy running back, another weapon, and probably a pick. I don't see that coming together. It's just that doesn't seem like. Here's the question I would have: What do you think the reaction would be by the fans if Deebo were traded? Do you think that people would lose it, or do you think there's enough goodwill with Shanahan and Lynch that they could withstand the negative that comes with trading arguably the face of the franchise?
Oh, they'd lose it. They'd lose their minds because Larry, you know as well as I do that players that play skill possessions are always valued so much more in the minds of 49er fans or just fans in general. It's always the skill position guys because those are the guys that are putting up the numbers that you debate, argue, and talk about all the time. Last year, when there was talks that Deebo might get traded, most people in my mentions were like, if we don't get at least 2 first-round picks, then this is a no deal. And I'm like, he's not worth 2 first-round picks. If you look at the other receivers that got traded, he's worth a first and like maybe a third or a fourth. That's the value. That's the going rate. And that first isn't a top 4 pick like the Jets had. It's more like the 15th pick. That's what he's worth. And come to find out, that's basically what was offered for him. So yeah, I think fans would freak out, especially if they got back some of the names that you mentioned. Most likely they don't know those guys. They're not big name guys.
Right.
And so they wouldn't see the vision behind it. So there'd be a lot of frustration, I would imagine.
Just looking at the particulars on Deebo's deal, if you move him before June 1st, the Niners have to eat $28 million in dead money. So that ain't happening. That's just simply not going to happen. So if you get into the post June 1st designation, then it's more palatable. The Niners would wind up eating about $4 million in dead cap if they move Deebo in that situation, but they would save, $15 million in 2024, $11 million in 2025. I mean, here's the thing about this, and this is
I think this too, Larry.
Yeah.
Just I think it would have to be a situation where they would literally go to the Pats. They would have a handshake agreement. Don't let this out. We got a handshake agreement. We want your first round pick. So when that pick's on the board, we want you to pick this player. Once you get him, that's our guy. And then we're adding in another player, that we figure out before. And then once June comes, yeah, that's when we're making the deal. That's the only way to do it in a sly way. You would have to have a handshake agreement, which I'm sure is not legal, but you
see it in the
do
NBA.
What you got to do.
You see it in the NBA. You just don't see those kinds of trades in the NFL. Here's the other thing, and I don't know where you weigh in on this, but I hate trading players for picks when the player that you're trading is a for sure, because let's be honest, there's a failure rate in every draft pick, whether it be the first pick in the draft or the last pick in the draft. There's some percentage of chance that player is going to be nothing or hurt. So when you have a player that's good and productive and playing at a really high level and you like his character and he fits in your locker room, to me, I think trading him for draft picks is not good business. I didn't like the way the Buckner trade worked out. You traded DeForest Buckner. He commanded double teams. He was a guy that you loved. He was a leader in the room. And you got a pick, but you turn that pick into Kinlaw. And now Kinlaw is getting bounced around in the playoffs and doesn't look anything close to DJ Jones, let alone DeForest Buckner. And so it's like, if I'm trading a for sure stud, big time guy, I got to get multiple picks back, because they don't have to be ones, but I got to get multiple picks back, because the odds are let's say you get 2 or 3 picks, one of those picks ain't going to work out. And you just traded a guy that there's no question about. So I don't know. It's like the team that's trading for Deebo, what are they really risking? They know what they're getting. Like Miami trading for Tyreek Hill. They traded some picks, but who knows how those picks are going to work out? They might work out, but they might not work out. So I don't know. To me, if I'm trading an established star like a Deebo, a Tyreek, a DeForest Buckner, I want multiple picks. I want multiple bites of the apple. I want a Dallas Cowboy, Minnesota Viking, Herschel Walker kind of I want you to kill me with a lot of picks. Now I'll back off the first round if you'll throw a bounty of picks at me, but I'm taking a bounty of picks, and I may not ask for a 1, but I need multiple 2s, and I need, you know what I'm saying? Because there's a failure rate. Some of these picks are going to be busts. And then if you don't hit, like the Niners didn't hit on Kinlaw, what did you do? You divested yourself of a front 7 monster who commanded a double team, and now that may cost you a Super Bowl. Who knows? That move for Buckner may have already cost the Niners a Super Bowl victory.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely could have. And let me throw out this hypothetical at you, because somebody had asked me a similar question on my channel, and they wanted to know, and the rule was you have to trade somebody. You can't weasel your way out and say nobody. So the rule was you had to trade somebody, and what would you trade them for? Let me throw this hypothetical out at you. I said Deebo, and I said if the Jets came knocking again like they did last year, and they gave me Elijah Moore, and they gave me Mekhi Becton, I think I might say yes to that deal for Deebo Samuel, because I get my future right tackle, and I get a receiver that I think is actually a good route runner and could be a very good receiver in this league to replace him. What would you say to that deal?
So it's Deebo to the Jets for Elijah Moore, who's already, talked his way out of that situation, but he's just still on the roster, and Becton, who's been injured. It's funny that you're bringing this up, Jesse, because I actually brought up, I don't love that deal. I think I'd want more than that deal. I'd want.
What if they gave you a third?
Moore.
They gave you a 3rd round pick as well this year.
Now you're talking.
Okay. All right.
Now you're talking. I may want a 5th as well, but I mean,
okay. All right.
Now you're talking. But I'll say this: I actually threw out a deal the other day on the show, and I was just thinking, I'm thinking at it from Niners perspective only. Granted, I'm not looking at it from the Jets perspective, but I was just looking at, okay, Robert Saleh was here. Robert Saleh obviously knows Kinlaw's talent. They have Quinn and Williams, but they're a bad team. What about Kinlaw just straight up for Becton? The Niners have a D tackle with a bum knee. They got a right tackle with a bum knee. Both guys are kind of largely unproven. The 49ers then would immediately be able to say, bye-bye, Mike McGlinchey. We're going to plug in Mekhi Becton at right tackle. Then you just have just a behemoth at right tackle. And I don't think you're losing that much, because I don't think Kinlaw can play. So to me, it's a way to divest myself of Kinlaw while also getting a player that I need at a position that I need, who also is a risk, but one with considerable upside. What would you think of Kinlaw for Becton? And if you had to make some kind of pick involved either way to even it out, I'm fine with that too. Not a 1st round or 2nd round pick,
no.
But maybe
I'll give up one of those compensatory 3rds and do it in a heartbeat.
Maybe a compensatory 3rd in Kinlaw for Becton, something like that. Because the idea of Becton, I think it's a great name that you bring up, because he hasn't fulfilled his potential in New York. They're kind of tired of him there. He's got ability to be one of the real dominating right tackles in the game. So there is some upside potential if his knee checks out. I guess I'd have to have my doctor look at that knee to see if it was chronic, but Kinlaw's also got a kind of a chronic knee situation.
Right.
So in a way, it's like, hey, you take my guy, I take your guy. What they really are 2 big guys with knee problems who need a change of scenery. Why not flip them for each other and be done with it?
I would do it in a heartbeat. Absolutely. Because I think Mekhi Becton, just skill for skill, can be an elite right tackle. And I think, unfortunately, at least what I've seen from Kinlaw, it's not just the injury, I don't think he can be an elite defensive tackle in this league. That's just me. I think he's a rotational guy. And so if I can get a right tackle who might become elite, has all the skill, all the ability, the size. By the way, he's lost a ton of weight. He looks really, really good. He's in great shape right now. Then yes, I do it in a heartbeat. No questions asked.
Couple people. Jeremy Wong here says, Jesse, when are you going to hook Krug up with a mic setup? So do you have a new mic there, Jesse? Is this not the same mic you were on the other day?
This is the same one, but now I've got Grant on the mic train. So I gave Grant all the stuff to order, and he's now got a new mic that he tested out with his dad the other day, and now he's off in Miami doing his thing. But yeah,
right.
He's got the same mic set up now too. So I guess everybody wants me to hook everybody up with a new mic, is what.
Well, so
I
had a great mic. It got stolen. I actually had a little break-in, believe it or not, in my studio, and my mic got stolen. So I'm using the Blue Yeti.
That's what I had before this.
Yeah, and as you can tell, it's not the greatest, but I like the Blue Yeti, but it's not as good as the professional mic that I had before, and I also had a stand, and it was kind of off to the side. But
the Blue Yeti is more of like the road mic, the travel mic. You know, when you're out and about, you bring the webcam with you. You bring the Blue Yeti. Yeah, that one makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. But for your home studio, I mean, you're right. I need to upgrade. Pete Ruiz, I just want whomever gives us the best chance to win. He's talking about at quarterback.
Yeah, it's Mekhi Becton for Javon Kinlaw. That's what we decided that. We're good.
We decided that. We decided that one. Jeremy says, Krug show 10 for 10. Mike set up Jimmy for 10.
Nice. That's good. That's a good one.
Nick Sirianni owns Shanahan says, living like Larry. Thank you. Thank you very much. What did you think of the Super Bowl, Jesse? I mean, I loved it. I picked 35-31 Chiefs, and then I bet the Chiefs on the teaser to the over. So, I covered for fun. Once the Chiefs got the lead, I covered for fun. But what did you think of the game?
I thought it was a great game. I actually I thought the Eagles were going to win. I'm really bad at like picking games. This is one thing I've learned about myself. Picking games is not my strong suit by any means. I picked the Eagles to win. I think it was 34-31, but I thought it was a great game. And it's funny because going into it, I didn't really care. I wasn't buying into any of the hype. It's just the 49ers had just gotten knocked out. I ended up watching the game because my 8-year-old's really into football this year for the first time.
Very cool.
He wanted to watch the game. He loves quarterbacks. Like, he's a Lamar Jackson guy and a Patrick Mahomes guy. And so he wanted to sit down and watch it. I'm like, of course, I'll watch the game with you. And I'm glad I did, because I think it was a thoroughly entertaining game. As just an outside fan and taking the 49er cap off for a minute, I thought it was a great Super Bowl to watch.
Seriously, man. When your 8-year-old says he wants to sit and watch the game with you, and this is a message to all young dads and future dads, just do it. Because guess what? My 8-year-old is now 13, and it happened in a blink of an eye. And my 22-year-old was 8 5 seconds ago. Titus Moeller says, to me, Deebo is Mr. 49er, especially under Kyle. In a lot of ways, he is. He's kind of the tone setter.
So you know what Titus said? Titus just said 49er fans would be pissed if they traded Deebo.
Right. Which might be good for us in our growth.
Right, yeah.
Tyreek trade equals Sky Moore, McDuffie, and what does it say? IP?
Pacheco.
Oh, is it Pacheco?
Mm-hmm,
That's a good trade.
Yeah. For both teams.
That's a good trade. Yeah, that was a good trade for Miami, but that's a hell of a trade for Kansas City. Double B Studio. Sup, guys? Look at that. Double B. What's up? What my other takeaway from the Super Bowl was, I want the Niners to copy the Eagles, in that if the Eagles can go with that short yardage play, then I don't care if Brock Purdy beats out Trey Lance. Every time they get to 3rd and 2, 4th and 2, I want Trey in the game. I want to put Juszczyk at fullback. I want to put Jason Poe in there at Juszczyk's fullback spot, and we'll just push Trey Lance across 2 yards. If Jalen Hurts can be pushed 2.5, 3 yards, the Niners could push Trey 2.5, 3 yards. I would like, to me, the two things I want to steal from Eagles, that right there, and the other one being go for
Nick
it.
Sirianni. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want Kyle to start mugging for the cameras.
Yeah.
No, but the rugby scrum I want, and then I want Kyle to stop being so damn conservative on fourth downs and go for it. And if he said, okay, well, the situations, no more situations. From the 40-yard, from your own 40 all the way to the other team's goal line, fourth and under 5, go for it. Don't think twice. Go for it. That's, I think, what the analytics community is leaning towards. I think everybody should be doing that. And the Niners especially. No more of this, selective, conservative, but then, incredibly risky. I mean, Kyle Shanahan in these playoffs, and I like Kyle Shanahan. I'm a Kyle Shanahan fan. I'm the guy who pushes back on Grant when Grant says, I think he should be fired. I'm the guy going the other way saying, no, I don't think he should be fired. I think he's a top 5 coach. But this has to change. He has to start getting a little bit more analytic driven and a little bit more consistent with how he approaches fourth downs. I don't want to see any more punts. I mean, give you an example. He was very conservative with Brock Purdy against Seattle and Dallas with how he kind of led the game and what he decided to do on third and fourth downs. But then you're going to be super conservative with Brock Purdy, who's putting up 35 points a game and is like clearly your smartest quarterback, but you're going to get, suddenly you're going for it at the end of the first half with Josh Johnson in a game where you wanted that to be a 1-possession game as long as possible. And you should have taken that 1 possession into the locker room and said, you know what? We'll take it. God bless. Instead, he gets risky with Josh Johnson at the end of the first half on the road against the Eagles, but he's conservative with Purdy against Dallas and Seattle. Make it make sense, Jesse.
He does it all the time. He did the same thing. Remember in Arizona against the number 1 team in the NFL at the time when Trey Lance started? Every single fourth down you're going for it. It was just a weird game plan. And those field goals, by the way, would have added up to a possible win in that game. But I like the scrum thing. I definitely agree there. And if you are going to take that approach on fourth down, Larry, it opens things up on third down. Because what do you see the Eagles do a ton? They run it on third down.
Right.
They're completely willing to run on third down. And by the way, that's the strength of the 49ers. That's what the 49ers like to do. How did the 49ers get out of Green Bay in the divisional round last year? 3rd and 6? They run the ball with Deebo?
Right.
Because they knew they were going to go for it on fourth, and it worked out great. So I think it opens a lot of things up. And the Eagles, you saw it all game long. It's like, okay, third down. There's no guarantee they're passing here. Now what do? You've got your turbo or your NASCAR package, whatever it is that you want to call it. You got a bunch of small linemen ready to get after the quarterback. They got their ears pinned back. Draw play. We're running. We're going heavy. Whatever it looks like. So I love it. But that's a commitment that you have to make. It's a philosophy change. Man, I don't know if Kyle's willing to do that.
I know. Double B Studio. Kyle needs to hire a head coach. He can remain the OC. Yeah. Could you imagine that? Absolutely. I mean, Grant would love that. It would be awesome. Yeah. But I don't see that happening. Do you think that the rugby scrum gets, eliminated by the NFL? Because I'll say this, Jesse, if the way that they don't blow the whistle for halting forward progress, so it's just like you get a first effort, then you get a second effort.
Yeah.
And as long as you're still doing it, you might get a third effort. And I've seen that pile move 4 or 5 yards. I'm waiting for the coach who comes out with the rugby scrum and runs it on first down and goes no huddle on second down and runs the same thing and goes no huddle on third down and runs the same thing and goes no huddle on fourth. That would be almost the end of the NFL as we know it.
Yeah.
And that is a terrible play to watch. There's nothing exciting about it, but it's effective. And if you give me 4 tries and you're going to allow me to have second efforts and third efforts, I bet you I could put out a collection of linemen and a quarterback or backup quarterback that have enough power that if you give me 4 tries, I can get 10 yards. And if that's the case, why would I do anything but that?
It it actually does make a lot of sense, and especially the way that you saw the one play that got me is when Chris Jones ended up on top of the pile and was getting moved like he was at a concert as a teenager.
Right. He was like surfing the crowd.
Yeah, he was just moving right along, no problem. And they picked up like 3 yards, just kept moving. It's like, wow, I mean, if you can do that with a man that size, and your offensive line is that strong, what's stopping you from doing it every play? Because it's clearly working. They know it's coming every time, and every time they're getting 2+ yards. No questions asked. So, yeah, I I don't know if every team could get away with it because not every team has a quarterback that's that physical and a line that's that physical. But for the teams that do, it could be a nightmare for sure.
I mean, if teams started to go to that with any kind of consistency, the league would have to outlaw it because it's such an ugly play.
Yep.
It's such a, I mean, nobody wants to watch that. Nobody wants to watch that. Takes all the athleticism out of the game. But you know what? I'm thinking to the Niners in some of those years where they struggled on 1st and goal from like the 9. If you have a big enough, you got Trey Lance, 240, super athletic. You got Juszczyk. Not every team's got a fullback. You got an offensive guard that you could put Nick Sakel back there and
Right.
just everybody push. And I don't know. I mean, to me, I haven't seen anybody really be able to stop it. And the only way to stop it is for the officials to blow a whistle early and not allow that second effort, third effort. Because if you do, it's literally unstoppable. One other thing I took from the Super Bowl is Chris Jones lost his mind on the sidelines when Jones was in the neutral zone, and I think Derek Nottie jumped in, and they got a first down, and then the Eagles got an easy touchdown to go up. I think it was 21-14.
Yeah.
They showed Chris Jones after the commercial, and this guy was just holding court on the bench, and I'll tell you, he's a scary guy.
Yes.
And the Niners could use, I'm not saying they're soft because they're not. They got a great defense. They got one of the best defenses in the game. But man, they could use that kind of a personality on their front seven, that the kind of personality that's like, I'm the baddest guy on the planet and it ain't going down like that. And if you guys don't play to my level, I'm going to kick your ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, Jones had that. I think that's pretty much what he was saying. Like, you guys better start bringing it or you're going to have to deal with me. And he's so scary that I think that's a motivator alone. First of all, I'm just a monster Chris Jones fan. I think Chris Jones, when I see him against the Niners, he's like Reggie White, Mean Joe Green, and Aaron Donald all rolled into one. I mean, he's like the greatest defensive lineman I've ever seen against the Niners. But if the Niners are going to, the one thing that I want to see them add, more so than a size or a position, or give me somebody who's that powerful and that commanding of a presence. They need that kind of monster on their defensive front. The kind of guy that, he's on your team, but if he wasn't, you'd be like really kind of scared of him. And you're even like kind of scared of him anyway, and he's still on your team. They need that kind of guy on their front seven. Somebody like a Frank Clark, and they get 2 of them. Clark's like that, and Jones is like that. And they play for keeps, and you can see it. And to me, that kind of toughness, they need that kind of person on their defensive front seven. I'm not sure if they just play DN, D tackle, linebacker, whatever, but they got to have somebody who's like that kind of a personality.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting that you say this because this was kind of my gripe with the 2019 team is that they were missing that. Now I felt like they addressed it a little bit because not quite the same, but I think Greenlaw and Hufanga, the way that they play, really does bring like a physical presence to the game. You see how everybody gets lifted up when they have a big hit. They're willing to hit players and they're going for broke on some of these plays. Now they miss tackles because of it, but you can see that they're going to lay the wood every time that they hit you, which I love that. But they don't have that big guy in the middle that you're talking about, or on the defensive line that really has also the physical presence to get in your face. I feel like Kinlaw, from just like a tough standpoint, could have been that player, but unfortunately, I just don't think he's ever going to reach being a good player to also be like, hey, I'm really the best player on the team, and I'm a bad SOB. He doesn't have both. He only has the bad SOB part.
Yeah. Ryan Hensley's in the chat. Ryan, good to see you. He
What
says,
up,
two
Ryan?
great guys talking 49er football. You know Ryan, obviously, right?
Yeah, I do.
I just had him on the other day for the first time, and it's like we're sitting there, we're talking. He had wished his son happy birthday on Valentine's Day, and he's like, "Happy 17th to my son." And my son was Ben is February 12th. So I'm like, we got two kids that were literally born 2 days apart. Then we start talking. He's like, yeah, I got 4 kids. I'm like, I got 4 kids. I'm like, oh, really? I got a girl and 3 boys. He's like, I got a girl and 3 boys. He's like, yeah, my girl's my oldest, and then it's 3 boys. I'm like, yeah, my girl's my oldest. And I'm like, we got the same fucking life.
So, that's so funny, dude, man. That's awesome. You have 4 kids, huh?
Yeah. Do you see? I mean, see the
yeah.
See the gray, see the thinning here.
Yeah,
it's all. I mean, I was a very good looking person before I had kids. No, but Ryan's awesome, man. Ryan's freaking awesome.
He's a really good person.
Do you have him on your show? Do you guys stream?
Yeah, it's funny because he was joking with me. We actually talk quite a bit, and I've been on his show a couple times, and during the season, like, I'm very concise. I've got these shows at particular times, and I do the behind enemy line segment where I have a content creator from another team on every Wednesday, and so it's like clockwork. Cool. I've got a schedule. So I wasn't able to get him on during the season. And so now that it's the off season, I'm like, look, I got to get you on. He's like, yeah, I don't think you like me very much. So that's the running joke right now. So I should have him on. I think I'm going to purposely not for a while just because the joke would be over if I do.
You're banned from Jesse's channel.
Yeah.
Double B Studio says, shout out Ryan G in the house. All right. David Hasselhoff. David has gone, many times against Brock Purdy. He says Brock throws 70% of his throws are 10 yards or 10 yards in. No thanks. We don't want Jimmy G Jr. All right. Well, let's get into Brock for a second, because I know I'm
big fan of Baywatch though, David. I appreciate it.
Let me get the Deebo brand thing off banner out of here, since we're no longer talking Deebo. But let's get into Brock for a second. Where are you with Brock? Where are you with the Niner quarterback situation? I mean, do you want it sounds like Kittle and some of the players are like, hey, Brock's the guy. It sounds like Chris Sims has come out and said, Brock's the guy and it's not close. It's weird that why am I listening to Chris Sims? I mean, seriously, I watched the game. I know as much as Chris Sims, but I'm quoting Chris Sims, whatever. But Chris Sims, we all quote him because he played with Kyle. He's Kyle's buddy. And the assumption is that he got it from Kyle, and they have matching tattoos, which is a little questionable. Anyway, but where are you with Kyle, or where are you with Brock and Lance and where do you want the quarterback situation to go? Do you want it to be, Brock's job and Trey's the backup? Do you want it to be Trey's job, Brock's the backup? Do you want it to be an open competition starting in camp? Do you have any concerns about what that may do to the locker room or to the team overall? For us, selfishly, I think we would all kind of want the open competition, because
of course
I can do a video every day about it, and it will get tons and tons of views. And you can do the same video, and the people that watch mine are going to watch yours too. So, but where are you with the quarterbacks? Because I mean, I get the sense you're more of a Trey fan than a Brock fan. I know Grant definitely seems like more of a Trey guy than a Brock guy. I always find it really interesting that the same people that have watched Brock win all these games, including 2 playoff games, are not sold on him, but they're totally sold on Trey, who really hasn't put any games together with any consistency. So where are you on the quarterbacks?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna try to walk us all the way through it here. So first of
Young
all, I would.
Montana. Larry doesn't like Lance. Larry
Yeah,
loves
yeah.
Lance.
I
Larry
don't.
was the one who wanted Lance.
I hear the same, Larry. I
All
hear
right,
the
all right,
same
all
thing,
right.
and I got to defend it all the time. But it's the opposite. It's.
Okay.
I don't like Purdy, right?
All right.
And so that's why I'm gonna walk, because it seems to me like you have a lot of people over here that aren't familiar with me. So I'm gonna walk everybody through everything just so that we're clear on my stance. First of all, I want a competition, because yes, it's great for content, but more importantly, it's what this team should do. Why not get the best out of both of these players? I'm totally fine with that. My gut tells me that if Purdy is healthy, it's his job. And Trey
You mean
Lance,
because he would win the job, or because
not
just because he
necessarily.
would be handed the job?
I think that I don't think it would be a real true competition, in the sense of, they may say it's a competition. I don't know what Trey Lance can do in OTAs, preseason, or training camp outside of perfection that overrides winning actual games with these players on the field. That's just me personally. So I think that Brock Purdy would, even if he struggled in camp, we chalk it up to the arm, whatever. I think Brock Purdy would be given the job, even if they said it was a competition. That's just my gut feeling. And I don't necessarily disagree with that, because I think you are in the business of trying to win games now. That's what these guys are here to do. And I believe, especially in the regular season, that Brock Purdy gives you the better opportunity. I think anybody who watched both of them play that could honestly say right now that Trey Lance would be the better player for this team, I don't know how you could come to that conclusion. I really don't. My argument is not Trey Lance week 1 is better than Brock Purdy. My argument is, I believe 18 weeks of Trey Lance, so week 18 Trey Lance, could be better for this team than Brock Purdy. I don't know that, but that is what I would like to see. I want to see that play out.
And to me, that's thoroughly reasonable. Like,
okay.
I don't, to me, to say that, I like Trey, because what you're basically saying is you think Trey has higher upside long term, and that
Yes.
it may not be realized in day 1, week 1, or even week 2 or week 3, but that over time he'll get to that higher level. That's
100%. 100%. And I'll say this, Trey Lance, it's funny because if anybody goes and watches shows that I did with Grant going into that 2021 draft, there was some different phases. We were talking about the quarterback position when they were at 12. Guess who I brought up then to draft before he had pulled his name out of the draft and we knew he wasn't coming in? Brock Purdy.
Oh, really?
The 2021 draft, before that, when they were at 12. So Brock Purdy was a junior at the time. He ended up staying in college.
Well, before I saw, you liked the Iowa State Brock Purdy, saw
Loved
the
him.
value.
Loved him.
And then he didn't have a great final season there at Ames.
He didn't. But you know what? I still hyped him up, and I still wanted him on the team. I was still mocking him to the team. I still wanted him here. So I've seen Brock Purdy through the junior year, the senior year, and it was enough for me to be like, I want this guy on the 49ers. This is somebody that I think would fit well here. And so when he was drafted, I celebrated it. I was happy. Now I don't get to go to training camp, right? Like, and this is really where you took off, and this is where I want to give you credit. You did a fantastic job. And I see that you have a tweet from like August of last year in the training camp. You said,
which I retweeted myself.
Yeah.
Which Tolbert always used to give me shit. It's like, Krueg, you can't retweet yourself. I'm like, Tommy, I can retweet myself.
Yes, you can. A year later, you can, for sure. There's a rule, that's the rule.
If I don't retweet it, nobody else will. And my burners are not up right now.
I love it. So you saw the vision, and you said something along the lines of, this year we're talking about Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. Next year it'll be Trey Lance and Brock Purdy. So you saw the vision way, way, way back when. I just want to say this. I say all of that to show that I do like Brock Purdy. I liked him before he was even eligible, when he pulled his name out of the draft in 2021. So I liked him way back then. However, I do think that there are some limitations. For a guy that has played 4 years, when I look at Trey Lance and I look at Brock Purdy, I say, okay, Trey Lance is a moldable ball of clay. And there is so much growth that could happen here. When I look at Brock Purdy, I don't think he's a finished product by any means. I think he also is going to get better. I am concerned about one thing in particular, and believe it or not, it's not the arm strength. As a player that played 4 years in college and has said to this day he still prefers to exit out of the backside of the pocket, I don't know if he will ever, whether it's a height thing, a vision thing, I don't know. Is he ever going to comfortably step up in the pocket on a routine? And if he can't master that, I don't believe that you can be a long-term winning quarterback without also being an amazing athlete. You see it with Justin Fields. That was something that bothered me about Justin Fields coming out of college. I'm like, I don't know if he's ever going to be able to step up in the pocket. He likes to exit backwards. Now, he's a freak athlete and he can make it work with his legs. Not quite the thrower that Brock Purdy is, at least not yet. But I just, that to me has to get figured out. And if he can master that, then he's going to get a lot better too. It's not just about, arm strength and all these other things. There's a lot of intangibles. He throws with anticipation. He reads the field really well. He's extremely confident. That's the thing I like most about Brock Purdy. He's extremely confident, but he has to figure out how to step up in the pocket. I believe that's ultimately why we're in this situation with a torn UCL, because he didn't step up in the pocket that I thought was rather clean. And if he can't master that, and I do have my concerns, then I don't think he's at all a long-term answer in this league.
I think that's fair. You don't want to see the quarterback escape out the back door because, for every one time it works, the rest of the times you're ruining the entire drive because it's
you're taking a 12-yard sack.
Yeah, it's not -5 or 6 or 8. It's -17. And then you're looking at 2nd and 24 or 3rd and 33, and it's a gun run and punt. So I get it.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll say this too. I don't doubt that Brock Purdy, with this cast of characters, can continue to do what he's done. I don't have any doubt about that. Again, I think in 2023, they could easily win 13 games with Brock Purdy at the helm. I do believe that. My question is, you have to find your long-term quarterback. If I take away CMC and George Kittle because they're 30 years old and they're no longer on this team, am I confident that Brock Purdy, with his skill sets that he's great at and his limitations, potential limitations, am I confident that that guy is a guy that you give 30 plus million and can be the reason that you are winning games when some of this talent starts getting stripped away? That I'm not confident in.
It is kind of a catch-22 because, like, in my scenario, I like both quarterbacks. The only reason I'm an advocate for trading Trey is that I don't think the Niners, and when I say the Niners, I'm talking about Kyle, the players, the media, and the fans, like the entire Niner realm, ever is going to give Trey the kind of ramp up that he has to have to be good. So I don't see it. I don't see anybody taking their foot off the gas. I don't see the season that doesn't matter to the Niners. I don't see a 10-game stretch where they're just going to be like, yeah, well, if we go 500, it's fine as long as we develop this guy. And in a lot of ways, there's a reason that the NFL draft, that the worst teams get the highest picks. Why is this kind of screwy? Because the Niners weren't one of the worst teams and they got a real high pick and they got a player that needs to play and if they were a crappy team that would normally pick third, they could have invested, or if this was year one of the Shanahan regime, they could have easily invested the time in Trey and let him develop as they build their roster. Instead, they didn't go that route. Now they added Trey, the super raw player, but they did it so late that now it's like, okay, when's he going to play? But I don't know if he's going to play. And then I'm thinking, well, if you could, I wouldn't take anything less than like a first round draft choice and either a player or a first and a second. It would have to be a first and somebody who went in the first or second round. It would have to be a pretty good price. But I'm thinking maybe Tennessee would do that. And if I got the 11th pick in the draft and I could add Michael Mayer out of Notre Dame, who I think is the next Gronk, I think could be better than
I
Kittle.
love Michael Mayer. Yeah.
If you could add Michael Mayer to what Brock has, now I'm not as concerned. I'm that concern that you have, that I also have, which is, can Brock shoulder the load without all these premier weapons? Maybe not, but maybe don't find out. Maybe get more premier weapons. I don't know. There's no real right answer here because it doesn't sound like the Niners are going to move Trey. And as long as Trey is committed to being here and is not going to demand a trade, then I'd move off my whole thing of trade him, because you're still talking. In fact, I would lean into it even more. I think I like the day 2 and day 3 quarterbacks in this draft. Clayton Tune, Jake Hayner from Fresno, the Louisville kid. There's some really, Tanner McKee from Stanford. There's some good looking quarterback prospects that are day 3 picks in this draft that I might lean into it and just go, hey, why don't the Niners go? They've got a young and developmental type situation with their young quarterbacks. Bring in another young guy and let Greasy, who seemingly did a nice job with both, coach them all up. And then at least then you got 3 bites of the apple. Because here's the reality. Brock could be the quarterback of the future, or he could have been a flash in the pan who doesn't have the staying power. Trey could be the quarterback of the future, or he could just be a super athletic raw prospect that's never going to get there. So there's a chance. I know Niner fans don't want to hear it, and we don't want to hear it either necessarily. There's a chance that neither guy is the guy.
Yes.
And so because that is a possibility, I would just keep drafting young quarterback prospects until you find the guy, or you find the right collection of, 15 teams or 16 teams in the NFL use 3 quarterbacks this year. So the odds are it's going to happen again. I don't want to lean on Josh Johnson, and I don't want to bang on Josh Johnson either, but I don't want to lean on a 36-year-old journeyman guy who's not really there to play. I want every guy in that room to be able to play if need be. So maybe you take a Jake Hayner in the 5th round. Maybe you take the kid from Louisville in the 5th round. I don't know, but I think that we don't know for sure, but I think they're both really good prospects. And I'd rather go with another really good young prospect and spend that money on Bosa and Ayuk and getting another D tackle and getting a number 1 corner and getting a big time right tackle. You know what I mean? I'd rather spend that money elsewhere and not spend $5 million so Andy Dalton can be there just in case their first 2 quarterbacks go down. I don't know. I don't know. Who do you want in your ideal world? Who's the 3rd guy?
It's somebody in the draft as well. I would want to, and I haven't put a lot of work into the quarterbacks this year, but it would have to be a young kid again. And I agree with that, because maybe the right answer, Larry, is finding your Mr. right now, which could, like I said, be Brock Purdy. You stream that for a couple years. You've constantly got somebody that you've drafted that you're developing. Brock Purdy comes up for contract. See you later. We're going to trade you for as much as we can get for you, or it's Trey Lance, whoever. We don't believe in you being the long-term guy. We're certainly not paying you $50 million. We love having the most talent in the world on this team, and a guy that we think can play at a top 10 level with the most talent in the world surrounding him. We're going to get 2 first-round draft picks for you. We're going to save the money, and then we're bringing in this kid that we drafted in 2023 to now be the starter for the next 2 years, and we're going to keep doing it until we hit pay dirt here. You know what I mean? Like that's also a possibility. And I think drafting a quarterback every year actually opens up the possibility that in the next 3 years, you can possibly hit on somebody else again.
And also, I mean, if the Niners are ever going to, really establish a bounty of picks or really get great, they probably just need to keep drafting quarterbacks and then trade off that surplus at some point. Maybe you draft a guy in round 3 or in day 3. Maybe you move him in year 2 and you get a number 1. Fozzie says, "Sup, guys? As a Niner fan, it's hard to see what a masterclass coach looks like in Andy Reid. Will Kyle ever get there?" Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, Andy Reid and Kyle will have something work, never to run it again. Andy Reid went with the short motion in this game, saw it turned into a busted play touchdown, ran it back like 23 minutes of real time later against the same damn team because he knew they didn't have a chance to prepare or have any kind of coaching point to adjust. And he's like, hey, it worked last time, I'll run it back. To me, that's the genius right there of Reed. I hope Kyle can get to where Reed's at, because Reed, it was, as Fozzie points out, where Kyle was. He was highly respected, very successful, no ring, and some postseason collapses. That's where Kyle's at. I think Kyle can get there. I'd
For
feel
sure.
nervous about parting with Kyle because I think Kyle's a top 5 guy. Where would you rank Kyle in the grand scheme of coaches?
If he's not top 5, he's right there. It's very close. I mean, it's hard to put him above guys that have won rings in this league and have remained competitive. Like John Harbaugh is a good example. Like that one to me is a toss up, but the edge I'd have to give to a guy that's won one, even though, you know what I mean? Like it's close,
Sure.
but you got to give it. But
yeah.
I'll say
there's
this.
no ambiguity. You either have or haven't won.
Yeah, right. And he's remained competitive as well. So when I look at what Andy Reid does, a couple things. One, he instills the most confident in the world in his players and his quarterback especially. But you can point to times throughout his career. Kareem Hunt, people don't remember this. His first career carry was a lost fumble that I believe it was against the Patriots. They scored a touchdown on like 2 plays later. You know what he did? He showed so much confidence in Kareem Hunt that Kareem Hunt that game ended up breaking the rookie debut record for the most yards in a game because he just showed confidence in him. How about when you're in a playoff game against, I believe, the Browns, you're at the 50-yard line. It's a 4th and 1 or 2. You've got your backup quarterback in the game with the lead, and you throw the ball to convert and put that game away. That's what I love about Andy Reid. He shows the utmost confidence in every player on the roster, not just because he has a Patrick Mahomes. He did it with his backup to win a game, throwing at the 50-yard line with the lead in the playoffs with your backup. That's crazy talk. And so, and also to your point, he will go at you repeatedly. How many times did we see the jet sweep when we played him this year? We got killed by it.
He was toying with the Niners.
Every time, every single time. Kyle won't even attack a corner that we know is weak. Let's play role reversal for a second. Remember in 2020 when Kyle Allen was out there on an island getting torched against Fitzmagic in Miami?
Brian Allen, yeah.
Brian Allen. I said Kyle
Brian
Allen.
They picked
Kyle
him up
Allen
on
was
Wednesday,
a quarterback,
and he played on Sunday, and he was a disaster.
Right. But how many times they went to the well 50 times it seemed like?
Oh, Fitzmagic went at him like on every it was like he came out of the huddle looking for him. Like, where is he? Oh, he's over there, you know?
Yeah. Kyle Shanahan doesn't strike me as the guy that will do that if he finds that matchup, that he'll just repeatedly attack the weakness. I felt like he had an opportunity in the NFC Championship 2 years ago against the Rams. You go look at Brandon Ayuk play in and play out. He was wide open repeatedly. He was cooking the second corner for the Rams. They couldn't even get him the ball. So those are the things that bug me a little bit about Kyle. That being said, Kyle is I think he's a great developer of coaches. I think he's a great developer of players. And I think he is a hell of a play designer. I think his play calling, there's some desire there that I would like to see a little bit better because I know he's got the plays in his bag. And I would say his overall management of a game is where I would desire a little bit more as well. So he's close. He's close, but there's a little bit more that he needs to get over the hump. And I do believe he can do it.
Yeah, to me, my biggest complaint with Kyle is personnel usage. I mean, at halftime of Niners Chiefs Super Bowl, Deebo Samuel was literally, I checked it because I was thinking about betting it at halftime. He was the favorite to win the MVP. He touched the ball twice in the second half. And when I asked Kyle about it a couple days later, he's like, well, that's not the way it works. And this, well, you know what? To show me a coach that doesn't get the ball to his big time guys. And when you have a whole half and you see a guy's dominating and he's the favorite to win the MVP and he only gets, and he's a horse like Deebo and you don't get him a couple more than 2 touches in the second half, that's negligence, man. And then he had to own that. And to me, he dodged on that. Legendary says, you hit it right on the head, Krug. We need a bad guy on this team. This team is too happy-go-lucky. We don't have that here. I've said that so much. I'm not saying he's got to be a criminal. I'm just saying he's got to be, the kind of guy that you're a little nervous around. I mean,
and they play. The thing is like they play with a physical brand of football, especially on offense. I mean, they're delivering hits, but it's like George Kittle will run you over and then smile in your face. It's right. Like, can you just like mean mug somebody? Can you be tough also after the play? That type of stuff.
Yeah, I would like a little bit more. I would like to feel in a little bit more danger when I'm in the room. Jorge says, greetings from the 305, gents. Appreciate your content a bunch. What's the number one thing the Niners need to do to get back to the Super Bowl? That's a great one. What do you think? What's the number one need for the Niners this offseason? Is it O tackle? Is it D tackle? Is it a difference maker in the secondary? What if Kyle and Lynch showed up right here in the chat and said, guys, what's the number one need as you see it? Go ahead.
Well, I'm going to go a little bit different direction. He said, what is the number one thing the Niners need to get back to the Super Bowl? He doesn't necessarily say in 2023. You need to figure out your franchise quarterback. That is the most important position in football. Larry, out of 57 Super Bowls that have been played, 43 have been won by a Hall of Fame caliber quarterback. That is no coincidence. That tells you, you can say defense wins championships, or hey, you need a good O-line to protect them also, or you need a good defense to go along with. That all may be true, but one thing that is factual, if you want to win or give yourself the best chance to win, 78% of Super Bowls have been won by an elite talent at quarterback. And even the times that it hasn't been won by an elite talent, you look at recently, Foles, Flacco, those guys went on elite runs. They were the best quarterbacks for a stint of 2 or 3 games to win Super Bowls. So you have to have an elite talent at quarterback, in my opinion, to at least give yourself the best chance to win. There's a lot of guys that are has-beens or all right that make it. Most of the time they get beat by Hall of Fame caliber quarterbacks.
I'm going to say D tackle. It doesn't matter if Eric Armstead can stand up against a double team if the guy 3 feet to his left is a block and a half away, because he's been waltzed 25 yards down the field. You got to have that second tackle. The Niners, in my opinion, Jesse, beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl in 2019 if DJ Jones was there at the end of the year. Instead, he wasn't. And it was a Damian Williams or whatever it was, whoever it was for Kansas City. He had a huge day and ran up and down the field. And they went from, Buckner to DJ and now DJ to Kinlaw. And it's not all Kinlaw. And I think it's, nice that Armstead has stood up for Kinlaw. But come on. I mean, Kinlaw was just getting bounced around. They have to get some kind of a monster in the middle. He's got to be somebody minimal. It's got to be somebody who can anchor against the run and to deter teams from running in the A gaps. But I want Chris Jones. I want a monster. I want somebody inside that commands double teams. When you have Bosa, you have one guy on your front that commands a double team. If you can add a second guy on that front that commands a double team, I think now it all works. Now you can go Ebukam and Menahue and Jordan Willis, and you can get by because you've got 2 guys commanding double teams. Right now, they got Bosa and everybody else. I think Armstead occasionally, but he kind of wears down. He's a little long in the tooth at this point. They need another front 7 interior player that needs to be combo blocked.
What about Deron Payne? How would you feel about him this offseason?
Love him. 25. Love him.
Yep.
He rushes the passer, 12 sacks. He's 320. He's exactly what they need. Exactly.
He's going to cost right before the trade deadline. He was the guy that I wanted when they were going, CMC ended up being the guy, but I wanted Deron Payne. That's who I was hoping they would get.
Yeah, I would love Deron Payne. That would be fantastic. All right, if there was one player, is that your guy? If there was one player in free agency that you could sign that isn't in the building and that wasn't a Niner from outside the organization, you go Deron Payne.
Yeah, 100%.
The
Yes.
guy that I want is Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
I like him too. I like it.
Chauncey
He's so versatile.
Gardner-Johnson
He's a young Jimmy
plays
Ward.
for keeps, man. How about that hit on Pacheco?
Yeah.
I mean, you're too young for it, but Ronnie Lott detonated on Ickey Woods in Super Bowl 23, and Ickey never ran the same after Ronnie blew him up. I mean, Ickey was 230. He ran with confidence. He had the Ickey shuffle. Ronnie blew him up on his face mask, just right, boom. And the rest of the day, Ickey ran like, where's Ronnie? Where's Ronnie? You know what I mean? And Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, to me, is that. I mean, my other takeaway from the Super Bowl, Jesse, was that there is no secret to beating Mahomes. The only thing you can do is put together a killer defense that has difference-making players on all three levels. And to me, Bosa is that guy up front. Greenlaw and Warner are those guys at linebacker. But on that third level, I like Hufanga. I like, Charvarius, but difference makers would be like Jimmy Ward or a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Guys who some guys play for money, some guys play for glory, some guys play because they just like to fuck people up. And that's Jimmy Ward and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. And you got to have a couple guys who show up to seek and destroy. And Philly, he left New Orleans because they cap blew up. He's going to leave Philly because their cap's going to blow up. That's the guy that I want to invest in. And I don't care where you play him. You want to play him at corner? You want to play him at free safety, strong safety, nickel corner. I don't care where you play him. That's the guy I want.
You know what? I love that because that would probably be my number 2 guy. And it's the same reason that last year I was big on trying to go get Tyrann Mathieu because I was like, listen, Jimmy Ward's going to be gone after this year. I want a guy who's versatile that can do some different things. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson is perfect for that because he's a young version of Jimmy Ward, essentially a young, healthy version. And we've seen him with New Orleans. He's wrecked our game plans blitzing off the edge. He's crushed us off the edge as a blitzer. He can do a lot of things. He's very, very versatile.
Let me just last one before we get out of here. Fish and Chips says there was no play action with 10 to 13. It was an installed day one. Then we got this one from Fish and Chips. This is 2 rooks, really, and you want a Super Bowl? Shaking my head. This is where they're at. I mean, this is where they're at. Double B Studio, Brock versus Trey, Grant versus Kinlaw. Who you got? I'll take it's got to be a brawl. So I guess I will take Trey. But I think Trey would be bloodied, but Trey would win.
Yeah. I feel like Brock's scrappy.
Grant would be dead. Grant would be
dead.
Grant
Grant would be turned into hamburger meat.
I would call his dad and I would say, I've always loved Grant. Do you think he could hand me some of his subscribers? I'll wear a really nice suit to the funeral. But let's just say this. Always be nice.
If it was a debate or something, then, Grant for sure.
Yeah. Jesse says, truth be told, Kyle trusted Brock more than any other quarterback he's had here. This offense showed that by the amount of points it put up every week. The one thing I think is special about Brock that I see special is that, and I don't see this with a lot of quarterbacks, when he goes play action and he turns his back to the defense, when he turns back around, he doesn't just know where everybody's at. He's like absolutely cocksure where everybody's at. And there were a couple times when he flips his head around, he's already in motion to throw. Jimmy, you could always see when he turned his back on the defense, when he turned back around, he literally had to hold the ball for a full second to recompute where his receiver was in relation to the coverage. He had to kind of re-see it. Where what I love about Brock is that he knows where his receivers are, and he seems like he's got a pretty good account of the defenders. He's thrown a couple that could have been obvious picks, but like when he flips around, Jesse, it's like the ball's ready to come out. And that is a trait that's kind of like, that's what we're really talking about is spatial awareness. That's not a football trait. That's kind of like that's like, that's something that just Brock has. That's not something you can coach.
And he
So
gets his hips around extremely quick as well, which is a part of that. He's got that quick twitch. He's not long speed fast. Like if him and Trey ran a 100-yard dash, Trey'd probably beat him by
Trey
20
beat
yards. But if they run 15 yards, Brock might beat him by 5 yards.
I know.
So, it's just one of those things. He's got that quick twitch, and that's something that he'll always have an advantage over Trey Lance when it comes to that. And that was kind of one of the things that frustrated me with Kyle Shanahan. He talked about, if I can get a Drew Brees, that's a Lamar Jackson. Well, then you go and you draft Trey Lance, who played under center 39% of the time, called his own protections and audibles, turned his back to the defense very frequently in college through play action, and you ran him out of the pistol. Why? How is he supposed to develop into the quarterback to play under center when you make him run out of the pistol? Like Roman did with Colin Kaepernick. That doesn't make any sense.
And I like Trey's ability to run, but he's
like
marginal as a runner. I don't like this designed runs. Let him scramble. Let him scramble from time to time. There's plenty of time to scramble. You don't need to design runs, and you definitely don't need to design runs up the middle. Go ahead.
He shows he's a much more confident runner when he scrambles. When it's on his terms, right. He's extremely decisive and confident. But when it's not on his terms, he's hesitant every single time.
The one thing that's really clear, and it's a great thing for Niner fans, both of these young quarterbacks have natural escapability within the pocket. Trey showed that in that Houston game for sure. The Niner O-line was crap in that game. Mm-hmm. They were letting all kinds of pressure. He was dodging bodies, but he was creating room. What I love about Purdy and Lance, they both can escape the pocket, get out, find a new launch point, survey the field, and then Brock does it with accuracy. Trey does it with just pure arm strength, but they can find guys and extend. They can be good late in the down throwers where Jimmy was if you took away Jimmy's first read, man, the advantage defense for sure.
And they're both looking to throw when they do get mobile. Like Trey Lance, as he approaches the line, he's looking to throw. Brock Purdy stays deep behind the line because he's looking to throw. So different styles, but they are both looking to throw downfield when they break something open.
Last question with Double B Studios is Kyle Settings set all Madden explains everything. Fish and Chips says Kyle Shanahan isn't a top 5 head coach. Scheme paralysis, him plus no trust.
Who do you for sure put above him? Let's quickly make a list.
Reed.
Yep.
McVay.
Do you put Tomlin for sure ahead of him?
Well, to me, I would put him. I'd probably put him behind those 3 guys for sure, and then it's debatable between like Peyton, Tomlin, Harbaugh. Those guys all have rings.
Who was your third? I didn't catch your third.
McVay.
What about
even though he's beaten McVay's got a better record. McVay's got a ring. The job is to get the ring. So I would put.
What about Carroll?
McVay.
Carroll's done a good job.
Yeah.
That team shouldn't have made the playoffs this year.
Yeah. I definitely put Carroll in front of him. So I would have him. I think I would have him 5th. I'd probably have him in front, even though he doesn't have the ring. I think I would put him in front of Tomlin. I think I would put him in front of Harbaugh, and I think I would put him in front of Peyton. But I think I'd put him behind those other guys. So 5th. But top 5. That's not. It's.
In worst case, we're talking 9. Very worst case scenario. 7, 8, 9.
Even the people who are the most critical would say top 10.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, what are we talking about?
Yes.
Sal says, does Kyle need a Mahomes to beat Mahomes?
That's
a good,
I don't know if that guy exists. So, just period.
I don't know. Mahomes. I met Mahomes at Lee Steinberg's draft party or a Super Bowl party the year he came out. And I don't know. Maybe it was the high pitched voice. I just didn't, I met him. I don't know. It didn't strike me like, this is one of the greats of all time. Just kind
Yeah,
of goes to
Larry. So
show
what
that.
you're saying is Larry wouldn't have drafted Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah, exactly. I was anti-Mahomes. This one from 8099er Payne shows they're all in, but
Yeah.
they're not going to do it. I don't think they're going to bring Jimmy back. I don't see any big moves. It's revenge tour 2.0. Man, what's
2.0.
your
This would
read
be
on
like
the Jimmy
5.0.
thing? Do you think Jimmy's gone for sure? Because I'll say this. If you gave me one 49er free agent I can bring back, I'm bringing back Jimmy over Mosley.
Mm,
I know most
I'm
people
bringing
go
back
Mosley.
Mosley. I'm
Yeah.
going Mosley.
Would Mosley be your guy, or would you go with one of the other guys?
I go Mosley. If I could bring back one guy, it'd be Mosley. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Do you think Jimmy? Does your read on that Jimmy's out because he kind of told Kyle's stories out of school on the IG? Do you think that I read that whole manipulation, by the way, as they love Jimmy and they're hoping that they could get Jimmy for slot corner money instead of safety money. Derwin's the highest paid safety. He's making 18, 19 million. The highest paid slot corner makes 9. Jimmy's making 9. Maybe you cut him in cut the difference and say, hey, Jimmy, we'll give you 12.5. We'll give you 13. Stick around. I kind of read that as like maybe Parag suggesting, hey, maybe if we move him here, we might be able to retain him. The other people looked at that as like the handwriting's on the wall. Ward's gone. I kind of saw it as like the Niners are looking to put Ward in a different category because they like him so much and they want to keep him. What's your read on Jimmy?
Yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy would prefer to be here. I think the 49ers would prefer to keep him. I think Jimmy's a veteran who knows how to go get his money now. He probably didn't know how to do that the first time around. And I think the 49ers are going to let him play the market fully. And maybe they can get lucky, not to the same extent, but in the way that they did with Tart, where Tart went out there, played the market, realized his value wasn't near what he thought he was worth. They brought him back on a 1-year deal. Maybe they can do that with Jimmy. I also think it depends. And the 49ers have been great about this, finding these redshirt players or guys that didn't play a lot in that first year and having confidence in them. How confident are they in Womack? If they're extremely confident in Womack and they don't foresee Jimmy being the safety anymore, then they may not even care to bring him back unless it's on a very cheap deal, which isn't likely. So I'm curious to see what they think of Womack as well.
Digital Drew says, no way this defense is as good without Jimmy Ward. His tenacity and flexibility is key to making it go. Yeah. I just love the fact that he loves to hit. I did an interview with him. You go check it out on YouTube, where he basically he's like, if you hit a guy in his patella or if you hit him in the ribs, he doesn't play quite as hard the rest of the game. And he said it and he had this smile on his face. And I'm just like, that guy can play for me, man. That guy can play for me every time.
He means it. And every year he chooses somebody to be angry at so that he can be motivated for the next year, right? Like last year, he was all worried about Odell Beckham Jr. He's got to pay him back. Now, it was a little too much because he did pay him back at the worst time, potentially. Right. But now he's looking at the Eagles receivers going, yep, I owe them something next year. So, yeah, I love it. I absolutely love it.
Dude, you're the man. I'm going to let you go because, man, Jesse's in the East. It's coming up on midnight. I'm the one who kind of pushed this back because I had to take my daughter to the airport. But hey, man, I love having you on. Everyone in the chat, we got over 500 people in the chat. Sub to this guy's channel. You probably already are. Most of these people are probably here because of you. But yeah, sub to Jesse's channel and build that thing up. And one last super chat from Double B Studios says Ward and Kyle butt heads. Well, we'll see. We'll see. Kyle's also smart enough to know that Jimmy Ward's a baller. So We'll see if what rules the day this offseason. What do you got coming up on your channel? Tell people for people who are fans of mine, fans of this channel, and haven't been over to your channel. Tell people what you got going on and what you got coming up in the next few days, so people can go check it out and appointment YouTubing.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you can check me out over at Last Second Sports, and usually right now during the off season, I go usually Tuesday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesday is a traditional show like this. Wednesday or Thursday is going to be a call-in show. But throughout the week, I'll usually put out a couple of unique, not snippets of the live show, but I'll come up with some sort of content that I want to talk about, and I'll put together a video for you guys as well. So during the off season, that's usually going to be my schedule, unless breaking news happens. And of course, then you have to be live.
Exactly. And breaking news of what level? Is it just anything? Like, would Brian Flory, getting hired make you go live?
That's no. That's like a snippet, like pre-recorded, quick, get it out, or even like a community post. Right?
My son has a question for you on my thing. He's like, "Can you do me a favor and ask Jesse what camera he uses to live stream?"
Yeah, I use a ZVE 10.
ZVE 10. So it's
Sony
not a
ZVE
Logitech.
10.
Who makes it?
Sony.
Oh, Sony. Okay,
yep.
There you go. We've got this one. Larry and Jesse both must sub for any real Niner fan.
Hey, I appreciate
it.
Dude,
it's really awesome having you. I'm going to call you again because, dude,
I got to get you on my channel as well.
Anytime, dude. Anytime.
Ryan, IOU, Larry, I got to get you on as well. Definitely, I will have you guys both on in the near future. So stay tuned.
Let's do it anytime you want. I'm there for you. Thanks for jumping in. I'm going to play a couple spots here for our sponsors, and I'll let you go. But thanks, man. Have a great rest of your night. Thanks for all the knowledge.
Thank you, bro.
Jesse, awesome. Dude's awesome. Really, really good. Really, really good. Digital Drew said that's a good camera, by the way. All right. I think we ought to do a regular hit with Jesse. What do you guys think? I think Jesse might be one of the best Niner conversations that we do. I think he's really, really good. One more fish and chips. I'm coming from I'm coming for the head coach room this offseason and next season. All right. I like it. No, but Jesse's the man. Absolutely incredible. Carsard says, agreed, Krug. Yeah. Jesse is fantastic. All right, let's do this. Let me tell you all that our sponsor is Pig in a Pickle, pigandapickle.com. That's right, Pig in a Pickle. If you're in Northern California, you like barbecue, man, you got to hit Pig in a Pickle. And they got 2 locations. They're in Emeryville in the public marketplace, open Wednesday through Sunday, and they're open 7 days a week in Marin County, and they're in Corte Madera, 341 Corte Madera Town Center, right there in Corte Madera. They're open daily in Corte Madera, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Get the brisket chili, get the potato chips. They do catering, craft beers. They got a kids menu. Check out Pig in a Pickle, our sponsor today, and they're great supporters of the show. So thanks to everybody. If you're in Northern California and you want to help the show, go check out Pig in a Pickle. And here's a little video from our good friends at Pig in a Pickle.
And thanks to Tony Cassera and the good people at Cassera's Italian Menswear. They are housing the Krueg Show t-shirts, and they're a proud sponsor of the show as well. The Krueg Show t-shirt, the Krueg Show podcast t-shirt is available there at their store in Dublin. Their address is 7372 San Ramon Road in Dublin, California. And go see Tony Cassera and get yourself a Krueg Show t-shirt and support the show. And special thanks to our sponsor, New York Style Italian Sausage. That's right, NewYorkStyleSausage.com is their website. Phenomenal product, whether it's the breakfast sausage, the Italian mild, the Italian spicy, the chorizo. You cannot go wrong with New York Style Italian Sausage. Once again, NewYorkStyleSausage.com, often imitated, never equaled.
So New York Style Sausage was started over 7 years ago. We are the largest producer of fresh Italian sausage on the West Coast.
What makes our sausage in New York style is really the recipe came from back east, from New York, from Connecticut.
If you look at all of our labels, there's maximum 4 or 5 ingredients, which we're really proud of.
There's no preservatives, no MSG, fresh in, fresh out.
The pork comes in fresh, goes out fresh. There's never any freezing throughout the process. We've always used fine quality cuts. We're never gonna deter from that. It's one of the reasons why our sausage is so good. I guarantee you put our sausage up against anybody else's from a flavor standpoint, no one will beat it, hands down.
And do yourself a favor and do me a favor. Go buy a package of the New York style Italian sausage. Guaranteed you will love it, guaranteed.
All right, we're coming down the home stretch on the Krueg Show. Thanks again to Jessie Naylor for joining us, and he's awesome, man. He really is. And every time we've had him on the show, which is just 2 times, he's just fantastic. He really is, and he brings it. He's got great thoughts. He's on the other side of the country, and he's covering the Niners, and it's a good dialogue. I absolutely love chopping it up with him, and I don't always agree with Grant, but we have great conversations. I don't always agree with Jesse, but we have great conversations, and it's respectful. That's the thing. It's like, you know what? I think Brock Purdy's the guy, and I think he will probably beat out Trey, but I don't know that for sure. I don't. I got confidence in my opinion, but I'm not 100% confident that Brock would beat out Trey. I don't know. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. I'll say this. I would definitely, what I said to Jesse, I think that's the route. Keep drafting rookie quarterbacks. Go out of third. The reality is Brock may be the guy. He may not be the guy. Trey may be the guy. He may not be the guy. And it may be the third guy who's not even on the team that winds up being the guy that they win the Super Bowl with. So you just don't know. We can't predict the future. And the way quarterbacks fall, drop like flies, man. When you have no quarterback, as you saw in the NFC Championship game, it is over. Dusty Gold says nothing but meat on Larry's show. Yeah, there you go. Digital Drew with the one I use is stupid overkill. It's like using a Ferrari to Uber, LOL. The Canon R5, that's his camera. Got this one from Hadiz Muhammad. Jesse's the man. He's a great dude. Absolutely. Fantastic. And thanks to everybody who's been on the show here. Dusty Gold says, love how Jesse breaks it down, takes another look at things, enjoy his takes. Yeah, no question. Really good stuff. Really cerebral, but not dorky. Like cerebral, but cool. Taylor Gang says, great show, Larry, with the thumbs up. Thank you. Y'all better eat Tony Soprano's sausages. The ingredients are a family secret. We got this one from Gabe. Larry, you're the glue to all these different Niner channels. Keep it up, Krug. Awesome collabs, man. And love the post-game lives with Rye and Danny. Yeah, all right. One of the things that I always do at the end of the show is I check in exactly where we're at on subs. And I believe today, yep, I knew it. With this show, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone over 14,000 subs. So thanks to all of you. And I'm just going to throw a little clap to the audience because you know what? We started this thing about 11 months ago. Not quite. It was second week of March. And here we are, second week of February. And we have 14,000 subscribers and growing. And we've picked up almost 3,000 subscribers just in the last month alone. So that's not me. That's you. So thank you. So thank you to the sponsors. Thank you to all of the people in the chat. Thanks to all of the other Niner content creators that have we featured on this show, from Grant Cohn to David Lombardi to Kyle Posey to Jordan Elliott to Matt Barrows to Jessie Naylor to Jack Hammer. Just so many. And if I left one out, man, I fucking apologize. Sometimes I'm losing my mind, but yeah, we've been helped. We would not be here at 14,042 subs 11 months into this channel without all the other content providers and content creators in Ninerland helping out. So, I love going on their channels. I've never turned anybody down. If anybody wants me on your channel, I don't care how small your channel is, just call me and I'll do it. Now, there are some weeks, like some people asked me during the NFL playoffs, and I couldn't do some of those during the NFL playoffs. So that was the entire time I've been doing this channel for over, 11 months now. I've basically said yes to every single person that wants me to come on their show. I did a show with a kid in like Kansas City. He couldn't have been more than 11. But I just did it. He had like 40 subscribers, but I did it because he wanted me to do it. And you know what? I just believe in what you put out, you get back. You know what I mean? If you put out good karma, you get good karma back. If you're generous with people, people are generous back. So I just always have believed in that. And so anybody who's a Niner content creator, a provider, you want me on your channel, just reach out, bro. We'll do it. We'll do it. Terradome says, Larry, at 14,000 subs. Yeah, 14,000. Thank you, Digital Drew. Thank you, Terradome. Thank you, Dusty Gold. Thank you, Color TV. Hey, grats, Larry. There you go. Jay Mill. Good job, Larry. One of my top 3 favorite 49er shows. You know what he means by that? I'm fucking third. That means there's 2 other guys in front of me. Jay Mill, I know what top 3 means. Go say that to your girlfriend. You're one of my top 3 girls. See what she says. You'll be sleeping on the couch. Vicky Pelich, 14,000 subs. Fire. Vicky, your t-shirt's on the way. If anybody wants a t-shirt, I got a box of them behind me. Feel free. Large, extra large, double XL, triple XL. Mitchell and Ness says, I hope Danny's feeling better. Danny had the COVID, so hopefully he is feeling better. I didn't talk to him today. I'm going to talk to him tonight, but I texted him today and supposedly he's feeling better. Hadi says, congratulations, Larry. 14,000 is impressive. Keep up the great work. Brad Hendricks says, Brad Graham. How could I forget Brad? Exactly. Fish and Chips said, I'm really looking forward to Marty Lurie, one of my favorite radio guys from listening to the Giants. When is he on so I don't miss? Tomorrow. He's on tomorrow. As far as exactly what time. Tomorrow, what we're doing on the channel is we're doing 2 live streams back to back. We're going 3 to 4 with Vish. So Vish is in the central time zone. So that's 5:00 his time in Chicago. So we're going to go 3 to 4 with Vish tomorrow on the channel. Vish Kumaran, who's one of my favorites as well. How could I forget Vish? Vish is awesome. And then Marty's going to join us afterwards. So I'll go 3 to 4 with Vish, and then 4:00, maybe 4:15 if we give it a couple extra minutes, Marty Lurie. So check that out tomorrow afternoon. If you're driving around on a Friday, or if you're home on a Friday, check out Marty Lurie and Vish. Pete Ruiz says Vish. There you go. In Larry we trust. Thank you. Congrats, Larry. You put in the work. Yeah, well, you know what? I've had a lot of help. Len Dempsey, Ryan Smith, Danny, my son. Lots of help. Dusty Gold, ascending fast, Krug. Onward and upward, man. DeBird says, my guy Wotus. Had him on. You're legit. Thank you. First of all, I didn't need Wotus on to be legit, but thank you. I'm just joking. Jay Tan says 2 things that you always get all on Larry's episodes are sausages and substance. There you go. Taylor Gang, dude, you give great content. You deserve the flowers. Thank you, man. Thank you. I appreciate that. Clarsard, my kids' will know who Krueger was. That's awesome. Now that one, Clarsard, I might want to save that one. That one's an all-timer. Dusty Gold, could be a future Larry or Grant with that kid. Seriously, I'm telling you, 20 years from now, maybe 10, You're going to see my 13-year-old sitting here. You're going to say, damn, that Chris Krueger, your dad was pretty good, but man, you're way the fuck better than he is. Hadi says, and Larry, we trust. God bless everyone here. Digital Drew says, YouTube is all about time in the market. This time next year, you'll be north of 45,000 at least. Damn. Trying to set that bar kind of high, man. Now it could be disappointing. Titus says, congratulations, Larry. Thank you, Titus. Thanks to everybody. J Mill. I say that to my wife, actually. Yeah, baby, I love you. You're one of the 3 greatest women in my life. Yeah, right. Jeffrey Morrell. LOL. Congrats, Krug. All right, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. Dusty Gold says, Larry, Grant, and Jesse in that order with me, Krug. Dusty, you're playing to me because you if you had gone Grant, then Jesse, then me, I probably wouldn't have even put it up there. No, I'm not that petty. Titus says, Larry, what do you think accounts the most for your fast channel growth? Probably just my incredible great looks. I mean, when you have this face, I mean, how could it not grow? Now, that's obviously a joke. What is attributable for the fast channel growth? Being on the radio for 25 years, probably, name recognition. I also kind of think that, I'm the kind of radio host that, didn't try to, I always tried to talk about the subjects that the people care about, which is, you guys are here tonight because you care about the Niners usually, right? So I talked about the Niners and the Giants and the Warriors, and I don't talk politics, and I don't talk religion, and I don't talk race, and I don't try to be one of these people that, I'm in the sports realm, but I'm going to tell you what I think about all these other things because sports cannot contain me. I tried to satisfy the people with what I know they care about, right? I mean, you care about the Niners, you care about the Giants, you care about the Warriors. Some people listening going, I don't care at all about the Giants. But yeah, so that's to me. If there's anything, that's it. Mark Graves, who just got his t-shirt, he said, I thought that was a face for radio, Larry. Yeah, exactly. Terradome. People often mistake Larry for Ryan Gosling. Yeah, no. Dusty Gold. It's true, Larry. I listened to you first and found Grant. Well, there you go. There you go. Jay Mills says, Larry, ever made it out west, by God, Virginia to visit? I used to live there years ago. To West Virginia. I've never, I've been in West Virginia, but I've never spent any appreciable amount of time there. I'll say that. We got this one from Hadiz. Recently found your channel, Larry. I love your debates with Grant. There you go. Dusty Gold. Hate to lose TV, Larry. Don't get too popular. Oh yeah. I will not be leaving for television. All right. So that's going to do it for us. Hey, thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody in the chat. If you're not, but believe me, we have over 350 people still hanging out in the chat. We have 14,044 subscribers. And we're going to make an assault on 15,000 in the next week to 10 days, like nobody's business. So if you're one of the 350 plus people still hanging in the room and you've yet to subscribe, hit like. That helps the algorithm, helps more people find our shows. Hit subscribe. That will just alert everybody when we're going live. And then if you want to be a channel member, I think we got roughly 100 channel members, and they pay like $4.99 a month, and we give them some unique content, and we'll be doing more unique content coming up in the baseball season. I plan on being out at the yard and bringing you a lot of the Giants face to face this spring and this summer. So, if you're a Giants fan, tell all your Giants fans, if they want better interviews than you're going to get anywhere on the radio, bring them right here because I'm going into the clubhouse and I'm facing guys up, and it's going to be, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm sure there'll be a couple players that say, fuck right off, get out of here, but that's fine too. And the rest of it, the guys who decide to come on, we'll all benefit, and we'll have them on, and it'll be great. Big Pop says, love listening to you, Larry. I've been used to love your takes on KMBR, except I don't listen to you when your grandson he's a hater. I'm not sure. When Grant's on, maybe. I think grandson was Grant's on. Sometimes you gotta interpret these things. Vicky Pellich, 15,000 by year one of the Krueg Show anniversary. It's going to happen, Vicky. And thanks to people like yourself who were on early. Color TV, that Steve Young interview was legendary. Dude, Steve's the man. And he's such a nice guy to come on. Jay Tan says, LOL, people just finding out about Grant. Yeah. Well, hey, you know what? Say what you want about Grant. I love the guy. He's treated me nothing but great. And, I understand he rubs some people the wrong way, but you know what? That's what polarizing means, is that, polarizing people are sometimes the most interesting people. And I find Grant very interesting. So Clarsard said, I don't know how I found you, Krug, but here we are. Happy to be here. There you go. Now that's good honesty, as Ratty would say. Jay Tan, Marcus Spears, and Mina Kimes, contractor up at ESPN. Real soon, Larry. Watch out. Happy doing this. I want to work for myself. I'll work for others, but I don't see ESPN. Hadiz, are you doing a 15,000 sub special? Maybe like a call-in show. Ooh, I like that idea. Maybe like the marathon. We'll get to like 14,500 and then do like a marathon show. And I'm not ending this live stream until we get to 15,000 subs. Do something like that. I could do that. All right. Hey, thanks to everybody. Have a great night. Check me out tomorrow with Marty Lurie and Vish Kumaran. Until then, we are out.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer to no one, I don't need to hassle. Yeah.